Welcome back to another episode of Elaboration of the Philosophy. Today I have a fairly new acquainted friend of mine, Cheech. You've been in my life longer than I've known you.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that.
How we doing today?
Well, today we're doing pretty good. We got terrible weather outside, which is great weather for inside conversation, it seems like.
Agreed.
How are you doing today? You had a big exam a few minutes ago that you took about 25 seconds to do.
Yeah, I took my second to last final. It took me 35 minutes. What's cracking, Jojo? How you doing?
Come on in, Joe.
Yeah, come on in. Or not.
Jojo! All right. Well,
Yeah, whatever.
We could edit that out, or we could ask him to come in and join our conversation.
Yeah, I had a final. I was given 2.5 hours to take it, and I took it in a little bit over a half hour. I hate school so much.
And you're done with school. You giving up?
For now.
Theoretically giving up?
Theoretically.
Not quitting, I mean giving it up.
Yes.
Okay. And then what? What are you doing? What are you doing with yourself?
Well, I'm doing this in terms of my passion is speaking and sharing ideas and listening to people and exchanging information. So the pathway to making it my mainstream line of income and also making it sustainable is the goal for now.
Okay. So talk to me about your podcast. I feel like I'm doing the interview here, but
I know.
Talk to me about your podcast and tell Jojo what we got going on. Jojo, have a seat. We're gonna record a quick episode of Little Joseph's podcast. You could actually probably weigh in on some good stuff here. You're more philosophical than any
philosophical.
of us. No, come on, sit down. You don't got 5 minutes for us? We're holding.
No, I'm not doing anything philosophical.
Well, it's not going to ask you anything crazy. He talks. All right, buddy. Whatever. So don't join us. You can at least sit down. You don't have to speak.
If I were to add in on my last one, I could fix it up in 3 minutes.
Well, we can't do that now. There's no fixing it up. You can't change what you already said. And he's not going to ask you questions about your faith or anything. He's going to talk to you about your.
Make sure your mic's on. Or, yeah, if you just want to listen, chill. Listen.
Jojo, put the mic on. If you have something to say, say it. We're going to talk about what he's going to do, what his next step in life is, where he's going after school. Do whatever you want, Joe. You got to go to the bathroom? All right. So that's a philosophical place to ponder things.
Yeah, you can. Can you hear me now?
Wait.
There you go.
There we
I
go.
hear you. So now we are officially live.
Now we're live again.
We got Jojo Day Rips here, and we got Frank.
We got Cheech and Joe.
On Joseph's podcast, the Elaboration of Philosophy.
Yeah. So going back to your question on like what the podcast is really about. For so long I've known and like I've always loved talking and I've always loved getting deep with people and sharing ideas because that's where the root of how we perform on a daily basis is at. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for me the past couple years podcasting has been such a big part of my life in terms of listening to them. Huge fan of Joe Rogan, huge fan of Joey Diaz.
Yes, I agree with you there.
Even huge fan of guys like Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, guys that are just so influential and I feel like where my purpose aligns with theirs is equally trying to live life full of love and like doing things for love and doing things that you love to do. It's equally showing people that they can do the same. And like this podcast is just me putting the microphone on and recording all of the conversations that I'd be having anyways. Like you said before, we were about to start a conversation that would go 20 minutes and it's like, all right, put the mic on. Might as well. There's no reason not to.
We're podcast guys. We don't want to waste words, man. Especially if it's a good conversation. There's no reason to waste some good points that everyone might want to hear.
It's very, very true. So for you, my question that I always ask everyone what is your philosophy on life, and what do you try to live by every day, and what recently has changed that, if it has changed recently at all?
I'm a little bit older than you, so it hasn't changed in a while, and I don't think it's ever going to change. But it's going to sound corny, and people you know, people in your family can attest to this. I pretty much live by the golden rule. I live by the do to other people as you want done to yourself. I'm not very, very religious. Specifically, I am very moral, though. I
Yeah.
I want I treat other people's kids as I would like my kids to one day be treated. I treat other people the way I would like my wife to be treated or my parents to be treated, depending on the subject of who we're talking about. I treat you like I would want someone to treat my own little brother if I had one. I treat everybody unless they deserve otherwise. And most of the time, that's something that they have to prove to me that they deserve otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm with you. Like, I was raised a Jew, but like I'm not really religious at all. I'm religious, not toward, like, not by any book.
So you're what they would call spiritual, not so much religious.
Yes and no. I think they're both, like, for me, I feel like religion is almost the storytelling of spiritual experiences. And like
I
that
agree.
has gone a long way, where I guess, like, with language in general,
We could do a deep dive on religion, Joe.
yeah, like for me, like with language in general, and like that expression of thought, like language, people forget that.
This doesn't bother you that you can't see me, right?
No, no, not at all. Like language, people will stress the fact of how good it is that we have language and how good of a communicator it is, without recognizing the fact that since it is our it's the greatest communicator, so therefore it's equally the greatest miscommunicator. And it's always present for me anyways. Like, there's always getting something lost in translation, because any expression of a thought isn't the thought. For example, all of these words that I'm saying are my thoughts translated into English and then spoken. They're not what exactly they are. It's like the decoding that the machine, which is my brain, runs through the English language, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand when you say you miscommunicate. Well, I guess it's just a
Like, you
part of
imply both,
communication.
yes.
Part of communication is, in fact, miscommunication. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's not a perfect format. It's not.
Yeah, you imply both. You imply,
You know what's funny about miscommunication is, as common as it is verbally, even face to face, the further you step back from face to face communication, the more miscommunication you tend to have. Nobody miscommunicates more via text message. And then if you go, you go back from there, you go up from there to in person, you're going to have a lot less. As you go up the ladder, the miscommunication is going to be a lot less.
Yeah, because for me, a lot of communication's nonverbal, and
How does that affect you with the masks? I'm noticing I do the same thing. I'm a big nonverbal communication guy, and now with the masks on, that kind of takes away a lot of that year's worth of reading people's faces ability that I developed.
yeah, and not only that, like, for me, it's just like I selfishly want to see people's faces, because I want to be like, I want them to see my face, and the way I want to radiate love to the point where, like, I can also see it affecting them when I'm in their space. And with the masks, it's very hard. And for me, I think the masks get to me more because I feel it's symbolic more than it's like, all right, like, these masks are here to protect you and protect others. Like, I don't think that's what the people who are telling people to wear masks have at heart in terms of their intention.
You know what bothers me with the masks? I feel like what goes back perfectly to miscommunication. You know me pretty well enough anyway.
Yeah.
You see the way I talk to my friends, my family, the people that I'm closest to.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I talk to them like they're my enemy almost. You know, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I got
It's
this.
yourself. Like, you're talking to yourself at that point almost.
Nah, what I'm trying to get at is, I say that to say this. When I make jokes and I'm sarcastic to people, the cashier at the store or, the waitress, when I make a joke and I have my mask on and they can't see that I'm smiling when I say it,
Then it's like,
then they think that possibly I'm serious when I say like, oh, this coffee was terrible, and I give them a wink and smile, but now they can't see any of that, and I just say this coffee's terrible, and they just hear it coming out of some guy. Now instead of a joke, getting a laugh,
now it's like dry, and then that affects the
it
course.
It affects the way, it affects the way the whole conversation goes when somebody can't, there's a lot of things that are said without being said. Like you said, nonverbal communication is most of communication. When you're talking to somebody and you can see their face in a negotiation, in a hostage situation, in a police situation, in a terrorist, anytime you can see their face, you're at a very big disadvantage. I mean, advantage. If they can't see the face, you're at a big disadvantage.
It's a vulnerability.
It's a vulnerability to have your face exposed if you're trying to hide something.
Exactly.
But when you're talking to people that you're not trying to hide anything from, you want to seem vulnerable so that everyone's open to talking to each other. You don't want to seem, like you're just wearing something exposing your eyes. But I mean, that's a necessary evil right now, and I understand that. It's just one of those silly, misintended effects of everyone wearing a mask. Is I just feel like the whole society's a little less friendly because I feel like there's a lot of people like me that'll make a joke and make a comment and say something and smirk or like laugh.
I got you.
Make a wisecrack, especially being from New York where we're from. That's part of the humor, saying something ridiculous, giving a laugh.
Sarcasm is huge.
I talk to, if they recorded some of the conversations I have with my best friends on the phone, we'd be in jail. We'd tell Henry, the auto mechanic, me and Anthony would get on a group message with him and tell him we're going to come bury him in a fucking car in his junkyard, this scumbag, you better wipe my bill. If that was on the phone, people would think we were shaking him down. And instead, we're just talking about when we're going to get lunch. If you miss lunch today, we're going to put you in a fucking car and bury you in a junkyard. Yeah, I mean, we're goofing around with them because that's just what we do. But with the masks on and the way things are, it's just no room for joking around. Everything is, and it leans towards everyone being more serious than they have to be. I mean, life is a serious thing, but the silly old saying, you'll never get out alive, so you got to have a good time.
Yeah, I think life is... I have a hard time with the word calling it serious. I almost feel that life is more sincere in the sense that nothing that is coming to you wasn't not meant to come to you, if that makes sense. And I feel like seriousness has more of it's hard to really describe the word without using itself to describe it.
When I say serious, I don't know, it's a loaded word.
Yeah.
But I say life should be taken seriously, maybe. Everything should be done, whether or not it's a serious thing, whatever you're doing should be done with purpose. Even if that's this podcast.
I got you.
You shouldn't lackadaisically, because you'll wake up being 50 years old, all confused at where the last 50 years went, why you didn't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish and stuff. And that doesn't mean monetarily. That just means
anything.
Maybe you have a great family life. Maybe you don't have any money, but maybe you're there for your parents. Maybe you help your mom out. Maybe you're taking people here or doing this. Maybe you serve a purpose to other people, and it should all be done purposefully and seriously. You shouldn't, anything that you're doing when it's for someone else or involving someone else, you should think about the way that you want them to approach it, and then you should approach it that same way. If that makes any sense. If me and you are entering a business venture and I'm really hoping that you're going to put out, 40 hours a week and you're really going to try your hardest, then that's exactly what I should be prepared to do.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask you to put out 60 hours a week so that I could put out 20.
Yeah.
That's not the way it should be. You can't you know, to put it in a sports term, you can't take a knee. It's real life. You
Yeah.
can't take a knee. You can't time out.
Yeah.
You gotta do things. Things don't solve themselves. Problems don't solve themselves. If you don't approach,
Yeah, doing and being is I guess the whole part of it. Like, I feel, and this is something that even still I get caught up with, but I've gotten a lot better, is thinking about the things that I feel that I have to do instead of just doing them.
you know what might help you. That happened to me. It used to happen to me. It used to happen to your brother a lot. And a way we both combated it, you could even ask him, is either before you go to bed or right when you wake up, the first thing that I would do, or both times if you really want to be smart, is make a list. Lists to me, they get a lot done. They get a lot done. You make a list of the things that you have to do, you're going to get them done.
Yeah, like,
You're going to get them done.
I
Even if
feel-
it's things you want to spend time thinking about.
then,
Not so much things you want to do. Like you said the other day when you had to take a day off to do the things you had to do. That's part of what you have to do. I used to tell people all the time, what are you doing? I'm sitting down watching TV. Oh, all right. If you're not doing anything, take a ride. And I just tell you, I was sitting down watching TV. That's not me not doing anything. That's me doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
Which is important to me. It might not be important to you that I'm watching TV, but it's very important to
you,
me
yeah.
because it's what I want to be doing. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that with everything, though.
yeah,
I'd say you gotta really make the lists and make them detailed and put what you want to do. Make it the night before. If you know you got a bunch of stuff that you want to get done over the week, I make a week list. I told you about the one thing already, the book. You probably
Yeah.
didn't read it, but I would. I'd get the audio book. I'd buy it for you for Hanukkah if you want.
thank
But
you.
the I'd read it. It explains to you how if you just do one thing every day to try to reach a goal, and it's a targeted thing, not just clean,
Yeah, it's not.
you want to clean your whole house. That's great. Like there's I can't remember the guy that that coined all this stuff. Like you want to change the world, start by making your bed. If you can't make your bed every day,
Oh,
how are you gonna change?
I've heard it from Jordan Peterson. I don't know if he's the one who
Jordan Peterson's
he's
the
mi-
best.
Yeah, like
There's nobody better at what we're doing right now than him. He's the
yeah,
best.
he
And it might have been him that said it. I listened to a lot of his stuff.
yeah he really just for me has as equally kindly but also like slapped the truth across my face when I listen to him, if that makes sense.
He doesn't. I say this all the time. He'd be the best lawyer in the world if he was designed to be a lawyer. He doesn't leave room for debate in his debates. He makes it to the point where you're going to sound ridiculous even debating the things that he says because he makes such pungent points. He does not.
He's very on point.
Yeah, he doesn't make semantic errors. He does not say something he doesn't mean. He doesn't say something that could be rebuked. He doesn't give you any good rebuttal against him in his debates. You never see anybody hit him hard. You never see anybody that gets him stumped or that gets him confused or catches him off guard. It's always the other way around. He leaves somebody with a 3 minute. They look
period
like
to talk,
they
and
don't
they're
know.
not.
They don't know what to say to him. They don't know how to combat his wordplay. He's like a battle rapper that can't lose, or like a boxer that you can't hit. Like he's there one minute.
He's very articulated with his vocabulary and translating the knowledge that he has at a bunch of different levels.
I agree.
Whether it's the college level, whether if you had a 5-year-old watching what he was saying, whether you have 35-year-olds, 40, like, doesn't matter. He gets the point across to a very diverse populace, and he does it well. He does it, like you said, without like much. You can't counter him, and if you counter him, it's because you're countering him on a subjective opinion that you have a backup from a lot of people.
I see a lot happen with him. He leaves hangers. He leaves little things for people to contest him on because he's got a rebuttal. He knows if he leaves this hanging out there, you're gonna take it and hit him with it, and he's got an over the top, So it's one of those things, and something that you said I wanted to just touch upon. He's a master at being a genius and talking like a genius, but talking like a genius that the biggest idiot in the world could understand. He's got a doctorate level vocabulary, but he never leaves anybody confused. If you listen to some of these, surgeons and astrophysicists and stuff like that talk, they leave you in the dust. You got question marks like the Riddler over your head by the time they're finished talking. There's never that with Peterson, in my opinion. There's never. It's always very clear. It's very succinct. Like there's not a lot of mystery in what he's saying. It's always pretty strongly to the point.
Yeah.
Robbins also. A lot of those guys.
Yeah.
They're very, very strong speakers.
Yeah,
with a lot to say. They're not just that's a difference, I guess, between like politician or, an actor, an activist, or like, one of these intellectuals. They're saying something articulately, but they also have something to say. It's not a pre-prepared speech that you're able to, learn and act and gesture and figure out how to be an effective speaker. You're talking about stuff that people are actually listening to.
Yeah,
and that you're coming off the top of your head.
Yeah, it's genuine. It's sincere.
He goes off 3 or 4 minutes of genius material coming out of the back of his head on a random question.
I feel like Jordan Peterson, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, like they're all very that's why for me
they're all also very, very different in their messages.
Yes, agreed. And I still think the messages almost align. They're not the same, but they align with each other, and they're all very sincere. Going back to the word, I think it really comes from a place of this is what I'd be telling myself if I were in your situation.
A lot of them were
in the situation.
I think you've heard about what's going on with Jordan Peterson?
I know most recently, in terms of media censorship, there's been there. I know personally, he's been a little bit not in trouble, but having a little difficulty with treating himself antidepressant wise, but I'm not sure where you're going and what's the latest.
That's what I was getting at. He was hearing, not so much hearing. He was. They took basically almost a year off from his videos and YouTube and touring. Aside from the corona, he was hooked on some form of Xanax or anti-anxiety, not anti-depression.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
A lot of people thought selfishly, because most people think without thinking, or talk without thinking. Most of the time, they think without thinking too. But they, everyone assumed. I might have been guilty of this too until I did a little bit more research. Everyone assumed that he was taking anti-anxiety medicine all the time because of his public life, and because he's such a controversial character, and his comments on YouTube and social media are just insanely either 100% positive or 100% negative. You got people attacking him, and a lot of people, including probably myself, thought that was what his struggle was with anxiety medication. And once I did a little bit of research, I was sad to find out that his wife is stricken with cancer, and he can't sleep and he can't eat, and he's sick over his family. And that was really sad for me to hear. I was almost rooting for him to be anxious because of his social path in life, and
I think
God took that out of his hands a little bit.
Yeah, I think that it's for him. It's good that he's not stressing about the positive and negative. I think that he's someone that knows that it's going to come regardless, whether he pays attention to it or not. And the more he glorifies one side, he will the other. So he gives the people props in terms of the positive side whenever it's brought to him. But yeah, it sucks. His wife's not doing well. he, it's just not like it's not a situation anyone wants to be in. You
No.
know.
Of course not. Speaking of, we were talking about some religion before.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a deep dive on this because I'm a philosophical guy. But, you know anything about Graham Hancock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Do you know any of his theories? You ever? I'm assuming you never read any of his books, just
No.
because they. I think you would have lit up when I talked about it. But he's got some wildly, I guess, debated theories. But
Mhm.
he this will go towards religion of what I'm saying is his theory with a lot of proof, a lot of articles that he has, proof that he has that you guys could all look up whenever you want to listen to it. I'll give Joseph some reference material that he could put on his podcast page.
Thank you.
In the event that you guys want to look it up and do your own research. But his theory, and it'll stand up, is that there was tons of societies, in the world
Mhm.
that reached better, or not so much better levels than we're at now, but like the common history is almost always fake. Now, you read books, like, just throughout the years of school that you've been to, you know that, when I don't want to get into the specifics because my history is not ultra sharp, but the dynasties of Asia
Yeah.
and the conquering dynasties where they just go to new land and conquer it,
Yeah.
they'd burn, like the Library of Alexandria and stuff, the oldest histories of the world that they would burn and start new history.
Yeah.
You've seen it in movies. I'll burn you. No one's even going to remember your name. No one's ever going to remember this place was existed.
Mhm.
And that was the truth. So until like the Roman times, it's kind of just made up. They made up history. And,
Well, it's a story. Like, anyways.
it's exactly a story. But now think about this. Is it possible that all throughout all of these hundreds of thousands of years that humans have existed, that we've only got a record of, the last 10,000 years of people? And in that 10,000 years, take North America, no one built anything ever? You're talking about the Mayans and the Aztecs, they built stuff that's still in Mexico,
Mhm.
still standing. There's nothing in the United States that was built, that was done. This was a blank slate of land. There wasn't people. The Indians never figured out from the beginning of their time to then how to build anything but a teepee and follow the buffalo. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
And his theory with the proof is he's got tons of the proof that an asteroid hit part of North America on the top, where up by Canada,
Mhm.
created a massive flood. Massive. When I say massive, I mean beyond comprehension. You'd have to.
Statewide,
No, I mean
countrywide.
100-foot wave of water washing over from Canada to Mexico. I'm talking like that. Enough to wipe things
The
off.
country, like.
Yeah, talk about an asteroid hitting it, melting the polar ice cap. He's got all types of proof of it. So
Holy shit.
and it's not really debated anymore. It was debated at the beginning, but it's not really that concept.
Anything new is debated.
Not yeah. But that concept's not really debated anymore. And now what a lot of people derive from this is there's no history before any of that. And this is where I think that religion kind of comes from. Because you look through all these religions, they all have they're all centered around some type of story involving a great flood. You got Moses with the sea and all this other stuff. You got Gilgamesh. You got Noah's Ark. You got all these religious tales. So
yes.
you got drawings on cave walls of all these things. You got crazy civilizations in elevations on top of mountains that they'd have no way of getting to, especially in ancient times. Machu Picchu, how'd they make that? They're saying that's possible at the water levels, that rushed in so high. People, this guy or that guy, all these religious figures might have just been guys that were able to lead 20, 30 people to safety on a good guess. Who's this guy? I don't know. He said, go on this mountain, there's a flood coming, and oh my God, he knows everything.
He knew it.
And now those stories build on from there and become whatever people say they become.
Mm-hmm.
and now we're here. I mean, the history even that they tell about the United States is just widely disputed,
Yeah.
especially in European countries. I mean, you read a history book in Europe and you read a history book in Staten Island, and you got two separate histories of the same world.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bode well for the future, in my opinion, to hide these things.
Yeah, I think that like there's just a lot of I think it's the attachment to the level of seriousness or truth to the story.
I disagree. You know what I think it is? I think there's a design by whoever is designing it to keep the majority of people feeling safe and calm. And I think if a narrative was, yeah, well, where we're all standing right now, an asteroid has hit before and can hit any minute and we could all be gone. I don't think that bodes well towards working every day, working for your retirement, saving money, doing all the things that society really is driven by.
Mm-hmm.
That type of
Lifestyle
narrative
and
does not
narrative.
support. You don't want people thinking that every day is their last, although it could be. And you definitely don't want historic examples of that. Every historic example, you ever see, there's like no cataclysmic events since the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but I don't think that's the truth either. I feel like
I agree with you.
I feel like the aliens, I feel like a lot of this stuff's coming out now about UFOs, about space. I feel like people can hardly handle it. So I just don't know where it goes from here. I mean, that's my opinion of how, like, where religion was born from.
Yeah.
Is from some type of event like that where small groups that recreated society all over the world told their story. Told the story Joseph knew. How did he know? Maybe he saw a flaming rock hit something and then say, like,
that's coming for us.
we got to go somewhere. And you went to the right place where 99% of the world went to the wrong place. And now the 20 people that you led are just, that's the people that are left in the world. That's the new story is Joe saved us all. He's the savior. He's the best. He's this, you know. And, you know, in biblical terms, I'm sure, but I feel like that's where most of it came from. I mean, there's probably widely debated, obviously.
Yeah.
Definitely widely debated, but I feel like the more I read into the alternate histories that nobody speaks about, the more I feel like history is just a story. It's just what sounds...
Break up the word.
No, yeah, I know.
You know?
But it's whatever is going to play best for the theater. It's this and that. You know, who knows why we really left Great Britain? Who knows the colonization? Like, all the stuff that started. I mean, what happened with Australia? I mean, Australia was a place where I think England sent their criminals. It was a prison island, and now it's a continent.
Yeah.
How big is Antarctica? Do you know how big Antarctica is?
I don't know crazy. Specific, but it's
if you want to look up, you got your computer in front of you, look up the elevation of Antarctica. It's a weird thing that probably nobody knows about, and I don't exactly know what it means or how to decipher it, but it's something that nobody will know. It's in the tens of thousands, right?
Let's see. The elevation of Antarctica.
Did you forget how to work Google?
Just like didn't come up right away, which I'm confused as to why it didn't.
Because they're hiding it.
Probably.
It's in the tens of thousands of feet. How's that possible? If it's all ice. If it's a whole land of ice. How's it possible that it's the whole continent is 10,000 feet above sea level? That's the size of a mountain.
Yeah.
How's that possible? If I find it on my phone faster than you find it on your computer, I don't even know what to
Fire
say.
me.
I can't really fire you, but I'm gonna have to make fun of you.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I can't even spell it. I'm trying to tell
It's
you.
all good. All words are made up, anyways.
Antarctica.
It says the highest elevations are 4,000 meters above, which is 12,000 feet.
Nobody finds that to be bizarre. I don't know how. The elevation at the South Pole is 10,000 feet. The highest point in the ice cap. How? 16. The highest point in Antarctica is 16,000 square feet above sea level. That's basically a Mount Everest hanging out at the bottom. Yeah. Come in.
Yeah, you can come in. You're chilling.
We're just shooting the breeze. We're on Joe's show right now if you want to get in. Doing a little philosophical conversation. Don't be nervous.
No, I won't ask you about your faith and your daily practices.
Yeah, we're not talking about that stuff. We're just talking about history and
Yeah, headphones on and make sure that on the mic.
Jojo used that, so that's up to you. Jojo is not Ronized. Yeah, just flip your microphone on.
There's a boat at the top. Flick it down so then it's red. No, down there. There you go.
All right,
Welcome
Joe.
aboard, Nate.
What's going on?
Nathan in the building. Mr. Zolta, the king of Monmouth cards.
I came to tell you
Go ahead.
that you've been especially hot today with the razzes.
I hit another Raz.
No, but we're running another razz.
I will definitely participate in another.
Just
Raz.
telling you.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
came
running
in to
hot.
tell you.
I got it. You know, when I'm running hot, I'm running hot.
I hear you.
This
Until
is
I'm
very
running
true.
cold. Until I'm running cold. So go ahead, Joe. Why don't you ask Nate your number one question that you asked me? He's a pretty smart guy.
My number one question for all of my guests is, what is your philosophy in terms of carrying out your life every day, and what has recently changed it, if it's changed at all recently?
It has it. I mean, are we saying that like COVID has changed? Is that what we're
I
getting at
mean,
here?
yeah, I'm not yes and no.
Well,
Like,
something's
it's
changed your perspective. You know, be nice to other people. Do this, do that. I said I go by the golden rule. I treat other people how I want to be treated, and I try to just, aside religiously, I just try to follow that as best I can.
Right. So, I mean, that's a very good point, by the way, you had. So, I'm a pretty religious Jew. So we do have, you know, a set of the ways we live our lives. You know, we have the commandments and everything like that. We have 613 rules that we live by. So in general, I try to live a pretty, you know, I think treat other people the way you would be treated type of thing. I think myself as a very honest person, very trustworthy, would never try to hurt anybody. But as far as my mentality, like, I mean, you know, pre-COVID, let's just say, you know, this place right over here, we were working, we had about 40, 50 people. It was a way different head than I had coming in now. I would come in, you know, I got to deal with, you know, I had managers for each department. I had a million other things going on. Now I think my mentality is a little bit different. It's a little, I'll tell you the truth now that we're running this card game. It's like I'm having fun. You know? I come into work, yeah, I'm not managing 40, 50 people like I was, but I'm having a great time, you know? I come in and I'm like, you know, what are we breaking today, you know?
Yeah, you're trying
what
to
are we doing?
And a lot of the ideas, it seems like you're trying to figure out ways for other people to enjoy that also, which is probably a rewarding thing rather than figure out, you know, different sales strategies or different marketing strategies.
100%. So we're kind of new to this card game. I mean, when we started off, it was basically just like, let's just buy as many cards as we possibly can, send in 10,000 cards to PSA, and make a killing. And like we did that, then we realized that PSA just takes 10 months to get your cards back. So we have to kind of do something else.
Just so those of you who are listening that don't know, the PSA is a sports card grading service that is almost required for you to sell them successfully.
Sorry for not giving the context.
That's okay.
So
I'm just trying to help the kid out.
So basically, that was our goal. Now we got to the point where we have this huge backlog of cards waiting to come back. We're not turning any money. So now we're thinking to ourselves, how could we, grow this card game? The card game's a big market. How can we grow it? So we start doing breaks. We're doing live breaks. Did we go over the live breaks? Do we have to?
I think they could get a general
So
idea.
yeah,
They don't need to know the specifics because
Yeah.
Joe's show is more about the philosophical part.
Right. So I guess what we're getting at here is that we then went into a new aspect of the business, and now in this aspect, which is growing for us, how can we grow that aspect? What different things can we do? What can we add? To what features and abilities can we give customers to number one, make their life easier, make them happy, and support them to grow as well as ourselves.
So the Corona months have really changed your day-to-day outlook work-wise.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I was home for 4 months doing, working in my house, And
Now tell us about that. Being the only person in the room with a family,
Right.
how has that been different for
It
you?
was great, but a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
I have 2 young kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I love my family. I love my kids. I love my wife. The
course.
greatest people in the world. But it's their home also.
It's a lot.
Their home also. Everyone's kind of, a little bit on edge. Everyone's cooped up. I turned my extra bedroom into an office. And, I went and bought a new desk. I bought a new chair.
You didn't need him. You got plenty here.
I know, but it was like a whole transition situation. I'm not. I had to make it like a whole new situation for me. But I did it. It was comfortable. But once things kind of, I wouldn't say lightened up because things are like pretty.
Well, it seemed
Still
like
pretty
they're
rough.
Yeah, shit's
clamping
heavy
back
still.
down now. Yeah.
But once they opened up the ability to open whatever
Yeah.
businesses, I started going in a few days a week, and then it just kind of transformed when I met this guy. I might as well go in every day. My buddy's over here. I
Yeah.
want to say what up.
Well, we got to be here. You got to be in it to win it. You can't, if it didn't come up yet.
Yeah. I guess for pre-COVID life, was it definitely, because it seems like you said now it seems like you're having a lot more fun and play has come into the workplace. Was there any play in the workplace beforehand? Was there a little bit, nothing at all? Like how much has it changed in such a short time?
So I mean, pre-COVID, we were in a pretty, it was a tight ship. It was pretty, every, twice a week we had meetings where everybody came in. We had round tables. We discussed numbers. We did all that stuff. Now, that business is totally on hold for me now. I have a few others, but that business is totally on hold. So it went from, managing 6 different departments in one company and having, conferences every other day to, I walk in and we're having a lot of fun. We're not doing the business. This is a new business, but the hope is that we get there. We
Yeah,
get there,
always.
and then shortly, hopefully, the other business comes back now with all the.
Do you think? Now you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but do you think that your perspective on business in general has changed throughout the corona, being that it's a scary situation at first with a disease? They shut things down. You're kind of forced to, go over your morality, and anything could happen at any time, and live life a little bit like it could be your last. You never know what can happen. Now you're having a lot more fun in the workplace, and it's a different environment here than it probably used to be. Even guys like JoJo yelling and screaming. I'm sure these are kind of new personality traits for everyone to be having. Is that something that's going to bleed into the ticket business once you reopen back up and get started with your main flow?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, JoJo, for instance, was a salesman for us in the ticket business. But you would never see this kind of personality come out until it just came out.
And he'd sell 10 times more tickets with this personality.
Exactly. So you always, you love what
you too. You get crazy on the thing. You're like a different guy.
Right. So it's like you love what you do. You got to love your work or whatever it
passionate.
is. Right. So, I love tickets. I love this. I think that once tickets come back, we would probably bring some of this personality traits back to tickets.
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful. But I think the biggest thing I learned was that, you got to be like nimble and improvise. I mean, I went down, my ticket business went down, and I mean, a lot of people just sat on their unemployment checks for months, and you know, in a month span, I opened up two new companies, and you know, those companies are growing, and now when tickets comes back, I'll have that company back as well.
Yeah, so you'll hopefully have a nice couple extra streams.
Yeah, I'd say what I tell people though is when, you know, if life knocks you down for any reason, because everything's unexpected at this point. So if something unexpected comes and life knocks you down, you know, get back up and you know, pivot. Do what you got to do to make it happen.
I agree. You got to be like the Bruce Lee line. You got to be like water. You got to be able to. You got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to shake. If you can't do that, like you said, if you were still doing tickets, you'd be in trouble right now. Exactly. Kids would be hungry.
Exactly.
But what do you think, Joe? How has the corona affected your perspective on day-to-day life?
Well,
how has it affected your goals? Because you're a young guy. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. So how has it affected your 10-year plan, having this very interesting year right in the beginning of your 20 to 30 years?
So for the beginning of this year, I was in school finishing up the first half of college, trying to still figure out what I wanted to do. COVID hit, went home early. One thing that I struggled with a lot was not seeing my girlfriend for 2 months. It was just like, yo.
We both laugh at that one, right, mate?
It was like, yo.
20.
Come on. Like, this is just craziness. 2 months later, we ended up breaking up. It was just like, all right, this is not serving us for multiple reasons, and there are things that we never really discussed fully in depth, and I would say that would be less on... I was open to talking about a lot more things than Rachel was.
Okay.
And that kind of just opened me up to just growing more within myself. Now I had no excuse to not focus on myself
so
and
you
not
were
worry
able
about
to
myself.
Be selfish. You were able to be more selfish without consequence.
Yeah.
That's probably for the best for your life.
Yeah, and for me, one thing that I always wanted to see for both Rachel and I were to grow, and now being out of the relationship 6 months and seeing how much we've both grown, and seeing seeing from afar how much I've perceived her growth, that's what I wanted at the end goal. And yes, it sucks sometimes that it's not together, but at the end of the day, I wanted growth more than anything for the both of us. And
you got to do what you have to do at your age.
Yeah,
you can't be sacrificed.
You're
not saddled into a relationship at that point.
Yeah,
it's not perfect. It's just get out. You're wasting your own time.
From there, I opened myself up. I opened myself up to opening up more and being more vulnerable in front of the world instead of just to the people that I spend time with most. And that allowed me to connect with some great people, including you guys. That allowed me to reconnect with people that I thought I would never speak to again, but really wanted to. And it's just been a great transformative time. It's like I couldn't have asked for anything like it, for it to have COVID, I guess. As crazy as it sounds, just what it's done it's been monumental.
It's such an interesting concept, the COVID, because both of you guys talking to similar enough guys with polar opposite, where you guys are at in life, and you guys both, where most people extremely suffered during this corona, you guys both had a lot of personal growth.
Yeah, I feel that a lot of people had more reason to stay in the box of fear, that the box of fear that they were placed in got smaller, tighter, more constrictive, but they still can't get out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like something that people put themselves in.
I agree with you, and I think that's in terms of the design of keeping people in the narrative, like you were talking about before. Fear and like any distraction that breeds fear and anxiety that distracts you from being selfish, like they got you in that sense. Like they like for me it's not it's not worth the stress anymore. I know there's going to be fear regardless. So is it going to be fear of like is it going to be fearing walking through with fear or just fearing right before I jump off the ledge and then do so happily? Like I feared originally before you even first talked on the phone with me while I was in California. I was like, yo, how's this going to go down? Like, just all of the what ifs were running in my head, and it was just like, yo, you're going to hop on the phone. You're going to have a wonderful conversation regardless, and then we go from there. And now I'm here recording with you. Like,
we'd love to hear from you, actually, on something we spoke about before. But again, you're a pretty bright guy. Maybe you could bring something to the people here.
You're pretty smart.
What are some of the things you do on a daily basis to stay on task? Like we were I was giving some advice on making lists in the morning before you get too crowded in your head, making lists maybe the night before, making sure you check them off. You got a ton of things going on. You've always had a ton of things going on, maybe now less than ever, but what is something that you could impart on this 20-year-old young man to be able to tell his audience to stay the path of getting your tasks done on a daily basis?
Right. So it happens to be that I am not.
Wow. Just so everybody knows, a good guy, a real mensch, Jojo, and Belky Cabrera dropped off some nice tea for us here in the podcast studio.
Belky Cabrera.
We really appreciate it.
So I'm gonna start off by saying you kind of gotta know your strengths.
Okay.
And I happen to know that I'm not the most well-organized person in life, okay?
That's fair.
I don't, so that's what I know. So I know how to do a lot of things, not too much, but I know how to do a lot of things, and I'm good at a lot of things. But I'm not great at making lists, making to-do lists, keeping it going like that. So what I do is I have, let's say, 4 businesses at this point. I have 4 different people running my business. Like the card business here, this is JoJo's business. JoJo's going to take over Monmouth Cards, and he's going to run it from beginning to end. I have the real estate business over there where Elliot runs that. So for me, what I do is I have 4 people who run my businesses, and they handle the to-do list, they handle the day-to-days, and all day they're coming to me with I'm an on-the-spot guy. They have a question, they come to me, this is a question, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do? And my day is overseeing all the businesses. I'm very, very flexible. I don't have a to-do list, this is what I need to get done. I just, whatever is urgent in front of me, I get that done. I look at the next thing, and I'm very flexible. I work with the flow. It might not be the best way, but it's the way that works for me. So some people are well organized. Some people don't look at their email until, let's say, they'll devote an hour a day to look at their emails, right? And their emails will be unopened until they have an hour. It's 11 o'clock or whatever it is. So for me, I look at the emails 10 seconds after they come in. And then once that email comes in, am I going to deal with this right now, this second, or am I going to push it off and get to it a little later, or am I going to forward it over to somebody else to deal with? And that's kind of how I roll. It might not be the best, but it's what's worked for me. It allows me to grow. I see things the second they happen usually, and when I could take advantage of things and let's say excel at something, or whatever it may be, I feel like that's my advantage. I don't have a set schedule, so my schedule would be whatever comes in. I'm flexible for that.
Seems like delegation and teamwork.
Oh, 100%.
And being like a great medium to just everyone. I guess in general.
I feel like that type of stuff delegation, teamwork, communication. I feel like those things go hand in hand with freeing you up to think about what the next thing is.
So I'm more of a big picture type thinker. So now I'm working on building, the new website on for Mom with Cards.
Yeah, which obviously you can't put the right thought into if you're figuring out how to answer an email, invoice or this or that.
Exactly.
So
I'm all about the big picture.
You're
type
a
of
macro
thing.
guy.
Yeah. So I listen. I don't have the head for making, knocking 50 little small things out.
I'm
during
sure
the day,
you have the head for it. At the end of the day, you're competent, but will it cost you more money in physical money or time to answer emails or to have someone else answer emails while you're on whatever you're doing? And I agree with you there. As far as you go, you're more important to the bigger picture than you are to sorting a card,
Right.
or answering an email or dealing with something meaningless. But you know how to do it all as well.
Right. But then again, so that's me. And I think one of the most important things is know yourself. That's how I roll. That's how I am. A lot of people, they thrive with a set schedule.
Yeah.
So if that works for you, know yourself. If you're not going to be able to get your work done unless you make your plan the day before, it's whatever works for you at that point.
I think another important thing for the young guys out there is not only to know yourself, but to be honest with yourself. Don't project the stuff on yourself that you want to be good at. Don't want to be good at organization, so trying to be organized. Know that you're not good at organization and try a different way or try to get better at it. Don't try to convince yourself that you're good at something that you're not, because then you're just kicking your own ass.
Right. Just doing a podcast. You want to come in here?
Yeah, come in.
You go sit down.
We got a lot of action in Little Joe's podcast today, man. You want to jump in?
Yeah, grab the thing.
You'll hear a lot clearer through those.
And put this thing on.
You're going to have to ask him your famous question, Joseph.
So hold on.
This
is my partner, Mike.
Okay.
My partner in the ticket business, NRZ.
Nice. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
So he could have probably
Good.
vouched for a lot of the things that you were talking about, in case you were lying.
Yeah, life is way different now. We went from 40 employees with conference rooms meetings and
40. I think it might even been more than that.
yeah, to JoJo screaming in the office about.
I was just gonna say, JoJo, I don't know if he can stay here much longer. It's really gets really loud over there.
Is it on? Push it closer to
Yeah,
him.
I think so.
Just the mic, yeah.
What, the mic? All right. Sorry, guys, I'm new here.
No, it's okay.
No, you're chilling.
Just
So, Mike, Cheech, and Nate got the question. My first question for all my guests is, what is your philosophy in terms of carrying out everyday life? What principles do you try to live by? And what recently has changed that framework, if it's changed recently?
That's a deep question. I feel like I want to give it some thought to properly answer you, but you would think I would say COVID might have changed the way I've been thinking lately, but I got married about 3 months ago, and that really changed everything.
Is this the point where I say congratulations or no? That's for you guys to answer.
He's a month in. It's congratulations.
It's still
Congratulations.
no, thank you.
So you had a Corona wedding.
Yes.
You had a Corona
Me too, me
it
too.
was before
Oh, when
the-
did you get married?
July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got married right in the middle of it.
Right.
Right in the thick of it,
All right.
which was interesting. That was a game changer for my brain
No, for sure.
and for my wife's ability to torture me through thick and thin.
True. Till
What
death
hap-
do you part.
What ended up happening with yours? They made you cancel, cut the guest list.
Truth, thank God, it ended up really being everything we could have hoped for.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
Locally,
we had
right?
We had it in my father-in-law's backyard. He has a nice property in Jersey. It was, outdoors. We had
Nice.
invited everyone. We wanted to be there. Everyone who mattered to us was there.
So that's great. You couldn't have hoped for anything better.
We got the nicest day of the year. It was August 30th. It was like 70 degrees and sunny the whole day. It was
Beautiful.
we couldn't ask for more. It really felt like such a blessing.
That's great. A lot of people got canceled this year. Forget it.
I was
All
there. I
heard-
could vouch for his. It
You
was
could vouch for
unbelievable.
his
I
what?
could vouch for it.
Well, that's good.
I even had my little kitties there. You know.
Yeah, oh
I'd-
my God, you should have seen.
I believe you.
They
I
were
believe you.
really
My
party
little
boy.
son Ralph was breakdancing.
Did JoJo go?
Did JoJo? No, JoJo wasn't there. He didn't make the
He might
cut.
have bumped into a girl, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That could have happened.
It wasn't separated, so
Yeah.
he wasn't allowed.
He wasn't wearing a beekeeper
No.
suit.
So how do I follow this podcast? I didn't even know this is happening right next door to my office. I had no idea. Where can I find you guys?
So you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, have it on YouTube, Facebook. It's Elaboration of the Philosophy.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
deep.
That's a mouthful.
That's deep.
That's why we were talking about all this deep,
Philosophical
deep
ideas.
philosophical
Yeah.
things.
And we elaborate on them because
And
That's
JoJo's elaborating on yelling.
I would have
inside.
I would have never thought you were a deep person. Like you just
Oh.
look like a regular guy.
You didn't see all the mushrooms on the back of his on the back of his laptop.
I used to be very surface level. I didn't allow myself to get deep. And then one day I smoked weed and that all changed.
Oh, gotcha. So that's what this is.
The reefer gotcha.
Yes, for the most part, it was wanting to try the reefer got me because I was so anti-drugs and everything until I was about like 16. And then I was like, all right, maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world.
Being
maybe
16.
I'm the crazy one.
This
and
is
then I smoked.
16 is a long time ago for us, but that's like 3
Right.
years ago. For
Yeah,
him.
it's 4 years ago. I
Right.
smoked for the first time the summer going into senior year, so it was a couple months before I turned 17.
Gotcha.
And I remember we were on vacation. We were in Pennsylvania, and I smoked with David, Ben, and their girlfriends, and it was crazy. I was so stoned. People don't get high the first time they smoke, which you're smoking wrong if you don't. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah, I was ultra high my first time smoking.
Yeah, I was so high. It was just like, I feel like it opened me up to like, all right, there's purpose, you know, there, because I was at such a low point in my self-analysis, or I should say the lack thereof. And it was just more of projecting a bunch of garbage that I was sick and tired of having inside, but yelling it out wasn't the answer.
So why don't you tell these guys who don't know what you're doing here, what you're doing with your podcast,
So-
where you're going, what you're doing?
So now the podcast is going to be my full focus. I have one more final exam, and then I'm going to pretty much drop out of school. I have 3 semesters left, but I don't think it's 18 months worth of stressing, especially because I saw what less than a year did for me in terms of COVID and really just taking action and being aware and actually putting effort into what I want to do instead of just talking about it and not doing anything about it. So now for me, I've always loved sharing ideas and talking and just spewing my opinion. I'm getting a little better at listening each day, but I feel like I've seen enough people make this not only their streamline of income as a primary, but it's opened them to a lot more opportunities. So now I'm just the next on the ship at this point.
And you're also producing others, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm recording and producing this one. We got Off the Rip coming soon, and I'm very excited to be a part. Just, I'm ready for action at this point. I'm ready to learn more so than I was in school, especially because I kind of had this relationship with school where I was going because I was good at school no matter how much I didn't try.
Now, does David listen to this?
Yeah.
Now, is he still refusing to come work for Nate in the warehouse?
I would say I'm going to put the three of you in a group chat and tell all of you to go fuck yourselves.
He missed out already. We already got a warehouse.
I
worker.
know, I tried to-
Belkis Cabrera brought us a
Belky Cabrera.
Belky Cabrera.
She
That's
got
a
us
good
a
one,
warehouse guy.
Well, you know what? Then
It's all right.
she won the prize. I tried to
Yeah,
get David in
it's
there,
all right.
another fellow Jew.
Listen, you snooze, you lose, right?
Agreed. I
That's-
agree with you.
Well, that's why I was asking if he was listening to it, because I would have loved to have him in here. I think he would have got acquainted with the guys in here well.
Well, I mean, after he hears that he lost his position, he's probably gonna go smoke a fat blunt right now, type of thing. You know?
He's very possibly already doing that.
Right, that's true.
What is it? We're 30 seconds away from the golden time of the day.
It's
So
got to be 4:19. That means.
right.
So what do we got as far as parting wisdom before we close up shop here?
nothing. Just do what you love, and don't. I guess. Don't find a career that you love. Do what you love and make it a career. It's hard, for sure. It's a process, but I think it makes things a little easier knowing that the goal is making what you love sustainable instead of making what is sustainable something you love.
Right. If you're passionate about it, you'll find a way to monetize it.
Exactly. How about you, Cheech? What you got?
No, I think that's a good way to sum up what everybody here said. That you gotta want to do what you're doing, otherwise you're not gonna do it well, or you're not gonna do it for long.
Exactly. Nate, you got anything? Any parting words?
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what I said, like, know yourself, know your strengths, you know, and if you happen to not be good at something, because, listen, I hate to break it to you, but not everyone is good at everything.
This is true.
So, whatever you're not good at, hire somebody or partner with somebody who is good at that thing, you know?
Yes.
So, know yourself, know your strength, and that's it.
Thank you, Nate. Mike, you got any parting words? You came in for the last 20%, but
He's
it was
Mariano
nice having
Rivera
you.
right now.
I mean, I think you said it best, you know? It all depends on what makes you happy. You know,
Yeah.
You can try doing this or that or whatever you feel the money is, you know? Money doesn't buy you happiness.
Agreed. I agree. So thank you guys for joining in all different points. Thank you, Cheech, for being here start to end. Nate, thank you for coming in shortly after. And Mike, thank you for being Mariano Rivera today. And
And let's also throw a big shout out to Belky Cabrera for filling up the warehouse.
Right, that was a big
Belky.
It's a
position.
big deal, helping Nate,
That's a big
freeing
deal.
Nate up to continue thinking about the future.
I mean, listen, I wasn't even doing it, so things were just sitting.
Well, that's
That's
that would
even
have became
worse.
a problem.
It's even worse.
Sometime or another, that would have been a problem.
And one last shout out to Off the Rip on Instagram. It is _off_the_rip. Go give it a follow and stay tuned for what's to come. And in terms of for this podcast, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.